You know who you're dealing with when you're feeling it. It's Janice's oldest boy. Sincere is definitely here. I got my co-host with me.
In the building, in the building.
Hey man, let's get the particulars out of the way. Please like and share as you come in. If you're on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, please, it doesn't take long to just smash that subscribe button. We are always looking for guests. So if you are a Black business owner, if you are an author, a creative, or you have some information or inspiration for us, we definitely love to hear from you. You can hit us up at the number one Black owned podcast at gmail.com. That is the number one at Black owned podcast at gmail.com. My artists, if you want to be featured for my intro music, you definitely can send that music to me, radio friendly, to the same email address, and we will definitely not be shy about playing your music for our intro here. Guess what? We do have a sponsor for today's show, and that sponsor is Forgotten Royalty. Forgotten Royalty is a design wear company that wants us to remember that we were ratchet, not royal. Design Forgotten Royalty Design Wear Company. They have their first rollout coming in the fall, and you probably be hearing more from them as we get closer to that time frame.
Yeah, that's dope.
All right, man. What we got? What we got today, man? The Dwight Howard situation. I know we wanted to talk about his video.
Yeah. Man, I when I saw that, I didn't think much of it. I'm like, okay, it's a dad being a little tough on his son, preparing him for the world, right? The ills of society,
right?
right. You letting him understand early on. You know, you got to do a little. You got to do a little more. Got to be a little tougher,
right?
Just to be prepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he was getting dragged, man. Like, people was like up in arms, like, oh my God, I can't believe he's treating him this way, and he's crying, and I'm like, bro, would you rather me chastise or push my son to the brink, or would you rather the streets do it?
Yeah.
Like, let me do that.
Right. And the truth is, they would rather that the streets did it. They would rather that you as a father leave him out there alone by himself without any direction to do exactly that. And that is to fall victim to the streets. I had I didn't even really pay it that much of attention. I did watch the whole thing, because not just that particular one, but if you actually scrolled over, you seen him coming in doing yoga, and he was doing some other things with his other kids or whatnot. I don't know, man. I think we kind of in a place where we soft, as a society in general. We just soft. And it's funny because I was dealing with, until the season ended, kids, because I coach basketball, and one of the dads kind of disappointed me, and he said that his son was upset because he came home one day and he was tired, and it's basketball practice. That's what I do. I try to push them to the limit. I try to give them to give me everything that they physically can, even when they don't think that they have any more left to give. I try to show them you do.
Yeah, push through it.
There is more left in the tank. You know what I mean? And to get to that point, so he decided to pull his son, and I was disappointed. I was like, man, and that's kind of where we are with some of these beta males that's walking around society today. But hey, I guess, like I said, I guess that's what we want.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call them beta males, but Delta, Echo, Fox, somewhere much farther down the list. They are,
further than beta.
Yeah. I mean, intestinal fortitude is not just given, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't wake up one day and have it, right? You have to learn that, right? You went through boot camp just like I did, many years ago, and there is a point where you feel like you can't do anymore.
Yep.
But then there's somebody pushing you to say, yeah, that was just the beginning. Now let's get to it.
And here's the thing about it as well. When you discover that next level, that next gear that you're able to get to, you feel some sort of success about that.
Man.
you feel good about it yourself. Like, man, I really can get to this point. I really can go and push my body that I am capable of going that far. That's actually a good feeling. You actually feel good about that.
Man, that sets you up for success, like long term. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you think you have given all that you have and given all that you got, to know that's just the mental part
Right.
that's trying to stop you, or the physical part that's trying to stop you. Now it's time for the mentals to take over, man.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, like even the way I treat my day-to-day life, man, I feel like there's nothing that I can't do.
Right.
There's just not.
Right.
Whether or not it's true, whether or not, you know, I'm blind and maybe I'm a little unrealistic, I don't care. I can do it. Let's figure it out. I may have to push a little harder, right? I may have to do some extra things, but man, I will never settle. Period.
At all. Kinfolk, what's going on, lady? His mother used that moment as a reason to and you know what I mean? I don't even pay attention to those things no more. I see, you know, her little shot or what have you, but I don't even pay attention to it because I don't necessarily care.
Yeah.
Honestly, just if we talk about bare bones, I don't necessarily care, you know, what she thinks. What's good? People in the world getting soft. Big facts. Yeah. Big facts, especially males, and that's why I didn't have a problem with what he did because, and when I say especially males, I have to say that I'm also talking more about, you know, black males.
Absolutely.
You know, we need to tighten up. We need to get back to where we was. You know what I mean? And if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. You know what I mean? When we just have to be able to kind of, you know, push through that thing, man, and you know, and get to the next level. But other than that, you know, the Essence Festival was last week before last?
Yeah, that's the same time they canceled the book signing thing with the other black folks.
So I didn't know that Jill Scott sang a national anthem there.
Yes.
A national anthem, not the
right.
A national anthem.
I mean, it's my new national anthem.
Have you heard this thing?
I have. I'd love to hear it.
Sure. For those of you who hadn't had the chance, here it is in its entirety. Put a little something on that for y'all. Put a little something on it.
That this place doesn't smile.
Said the place doesn't smile.
On you, colored child.
On you, colored child.
Man.
Whose blood built this land?
Whose blood built this land?
With sweat and their hands.
With sweat and their hands.
But you'll die in this place.
But you will die in this place.
And your memory erased.
And your memory erased.
Oh, say does this truth
does this truth hold? Singing that thing for her soul, singing this thing for you. Hear me?
Powerful.
This is not the land of the
free. This is not the land of the free. That's what she said here. What is?
But the home of the slave.
But the home of the slave. Powerful song, awesome lyrics from one of our greats as far as the music industry is concerned, and that was a great way to kind of get things kicked off. I can't imagine Another way of hearing that, man. Come on,
Man,
Jill.
listen.
You hear me?
Man, listen. When I heard that song, two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, I said, Michael came down from the heavens and helped her write this.
Right.
And two, I immediately thought of "Strange Fruit" by Nina Simone.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's on that.
You know, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Like that's where it took me. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Like
yeah. Rightfully so.
Like it immediately transported me to that
place,
that space and time, and I'm just like, man, gut wrenching.
Yeah. And the words are one thing, and they are definitely powerful words. If you just typed them out and read them or hung them somewhere, that the words themselves are powerful. But when you see her perform it,
right,
you see that that's coming from an uncommon place.
Yes,
you know, like that the way that she sung that is it the way that she sung other songs?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, she sung this with purpose.
Yep.
And it was great to see. So shout out to Jill Scott on that.
Yeah, man.
One more thing concerning entertainment news before we get to the breaking news is if you've not heard of Burna Boy made history last night by becoming the first African artist to sell out a United States stadium. He sold out Citi Field in New York City last night. That's a big deal right there, man. So shout out to Burna Boy.
I gotta look him up.
Yeah,
heard the name, just don't know any of his music.
You've heard the song. You probably just didn't know it was him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right. Well, let's get into it. Breaking news. All right, breaking news. The first thing, the FedNow app. The FedNow app. If you don't know what that is, the FedNow app is the first U.S. government created and backed portal allowing banks to send and receive funds instantly. So if you've ever used the Venmo, Cash App, or anything of the like, then you know exactly what FedNow is here to do. A lot of people have a lot of questions when we're talking about FedNow. But one thing that I want you to know is that it's supposed to launch later on this month. The difference here with FedNow is that FedNow will also allow you to make payments. And when I say payments, I mean I'm talking about the big dogs. So you'll be able to make your mortgage payment from the FedNow app. I don't know if you can do that with the Cash App or Venmo because I've never tried to pay a mortgage bill from FedNow, but you will definitely be able to do that from the FedNow app, and it will be it will still take a couple of days for your online payment to clear, maybe up to a week depending on who you bank with. But business owners will also be able to use it. So if you know that if you're a business owner right now and you use Cash App, the moment you get to $600 or more, then the IRS definitely will be taking a look into your Cash App transactions. But the difference between it and FedNow is FedNow will also allow you to receive invoices and make payments in real time. So that's another use for FedNow. People are asking, is this where we going, replacing cash? Could be the first step. I don't really know. But I know the FedNow app is not a form of currency. They say it's not a step towards eliminating cash, but who knows? When it comes to to the government and the truth, the two usually don't mix well together.
Yeah, I don't see
it about that.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of good stuff. I've been trying to weigh the pros and cons. I mean, I guess I need to hear more about it. All I can tell you is my yard man is finna be livid because he now got to report all of that shit all that money that I'm giving him.
Right, that's a fact.
To me, that's my initial thought on it. Is this is a way to track maybe things that they haven't been able to track accurately before.
Right.
My only question would be whether or not it's federally insured, right? Because I know that the Cash app has recently come under some scrutiny about, the folks that had the Cash app, like Visa card or whatever, and they had money in those accounts and transactions that didn't go through or had problems. They were basically just going in those accounts and taking the money out.
Right.
And I don't believe that Cash app was FDIC insured.
It was not.
So that may, be a positive, right? If you're going to have those transactions, because I do think cash will no longer be king, right?
Sadly.
I've gone to more and more places now, just recently that literally just don't accept cash.
Yeah.
Like, we don't take cash. And I'm just like,
yeah.
So, but for me, the conspiracist in me says, we want to see what you're doing.
Right. I think the thing that concerns me is that this is a government created and backed app. So, I mean, so certainly its use is basically you definitely running your money through the hands of the government before it goes to wherever it is going. Now, I do have my other conspiracy theories about things that may be coming as a result of this, but I will withhold judgment until all the facts come out. I know that there was also some talk about Now's relationship with the CBDC, which is the Central Bank of Digital Currency. Now they say that there is no decision on using or issuing a CBDC, and that as of now that there is no relationship between the FedNow app or the CBDC itself. So, a lot of things remain, a lot of questions remain. Again, it's supposed to come out at the end of this month. I guess once it does come out and people begin to use it and we begin to see exactly what it is and what it is not, and we'll be able to come up to a more justified conclusion. And kind of in conjunction with that is the BRICS. You know about the BRICS?
I did not know about the BRICS until.
So if you don't know, the BRICS, BRICS, stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries, and they have been joined by some others since their original banding, have come together to basically replace the US dollar as the world trade currency. Why is that important? That is important because the US dollar, being the world trade currency, has on many occasions kept us from becoming a paper or plastic country. Right? It keeps the US dollar in worldwide circulation. Right? And as long as that is the case, then our currency cannot be allowed to fail, because other countries, continents have had to use it in order to trade amongst themselves. But what the BRICS countries have already begun to do is use their own currencies to trade among themselves, which is already beginning to kind of hurt, the US. We can already see that, a lot of the supply lines have begun to slow down, especially where China is concerned. And I'm in the real estate, so I know that a lot of the like things like wood, for building of homes and things like that are, way more. I'm talking about 4 to 10 times more expensive now than they were just 3 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So it is definitely a big deal. And if I would suggest that if you have not heard about the BRICS Union, that you would definitely take some time to get to know them. they also have some dealings, if you will, with the CBDC, which again is the Central Bank of Digital Currency. They are saying that the development of anything alternative is indeed a medium to long-term ambition as far as using their whatever currency that they choose to replace the U.S. dollar. Right now, they've suggested that the Chinese yuan replace the dollar as the world's dominant currency. And if you do any type of trading, you know that the yuan has been gaining traction as a trading currency. But it's still a long way from being any type of reserve currency. But the traction that is made from over quarter to quarter is significant.
Well, I tell you, you think about all of those TV shows and things that I watched as a kid where there was like, oh, China's gonna take over. It's here.
Yeah, you thought it was,
yeah. Especially, I mean, you already know, like in terms of real estate, like all of the things in these major cities that China and some of these other places have purchased real estate in New York, California, you like LA, like big places.
Right.
Man, and I said it before, our bullet days are over.
Here's the thing here's the thing though when you say that, because I've also had that thought, but you and I are very in tune to military action.
Yeah.
And if anyone thinks that the US of A is going to lay down and go away quietly,
no, not even for a second. No,
it's not going to happen that way. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen that way. So,
I immediately think of Dave Chappelle and his skit when he was the black president.
Yeah.
You know, with like yellow cape. Like like it's they tried to kill my father. Like it's gonna be on.
Yeah, exactly.
We will make up something, but it ain't. We're not going quietly into the night.
It will not happen that way. So before anything pops off and it becomes 100% official and we go along with it, there has to be some fisticuffs involved prior to that. I'm certain of it. So
it's a bad look.
That's where we are, where the bricks are concerned, and that's about it. That's all we have today for our breaking news. But guess what? We got a new segment for y'all today. I know that everybody remembers, hopefully, and was greatly, inspired and informed when it came to this wonderful young lady that is going to begin her first segment today. But it won't be the last. She will be a regular here on the Black Owned Podcast. So y'all get ready to be coached up with Coach K. Here you go.
What up?
What's going on?
Hey,
Coach?
I like that intro. Let's go.
I had to make it
Let's
special
do it.
for you.
I'm telling you.
Put a little sauce on it,
Feeling it.
Hey, I love it. What's good, gentlemen? How y'all feeling?
It's your world. We just a squirrel. That's all.
Yeah. We just trying to get where you at. We're trying to do what you do.
That's it. What you got for us today? I know, let me tell you something. If y'all don't, I want y'all to make sure that y'all are on IG following at Coach K, especially my female listeners. You know why? Because she got that good for y'all, boy. I'm telling you, she got that good for y'all. So,
and I do. What's up, y'all? My name is Keisha. I go by Coach K Woods. I am the founder of Upgraded Mindsets, the host of the Empowering Real Talk podcast, and a full-time entrepreneur, mindset motivator, serial, everything. Like, look, I'm here for the growth of us. So when my boy Sincere asked me to be a part of the Black Owned Podcast, I had to jump on because, listen, the conversations he pop off, they definitely necessary. And I got to get in on that because, hey, I know that my conversations be necessary too. So Sincere, super shout out to you for having me. But let me get in tune with what I want to talk to y'all about today, right? I had a post And these are with experiences that I have. I'm a transformational mindset coach, y'all. So I'm all about transforming our mind, getting out of these outdated thinking methods, right? And getting out of these thinking methods involves us making some hella changes that a lot of us I know ain't ready to do, right? So before I even get into that, I'm going to talk to y'all about a little something that has to happen in order to initiate these changes. What I have noticed in our culture, especially, is how many of y'all will say, "Oh, don't say nothing, just be quiet, don't worry about it, be the bigger person,
Oh, yeah.
karma gonna get them."
Mm.
How many times have y'all heard that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of times.
Too many, too
Mhm.
many.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, that used to work back in the day, but as we are growing individually, as women, as men, as a culture, as a community, as a whole, we that's an outdated thinking method that I
Mhm.
personally feel like needs to be banished. Okay. I'm speaking my truth.
Indeed.
And I'm gonna be so real about speaking my truth, because what you telling me is to not speak my mind about any and everything because you don't want any drama or you don't want any, no, we're not doing that anymore. Here, we're speaking our mind, right? Because holding things back and people telling you to stop saying nothing is real life a trauma response. People don't get that side of things. That's 998,287 reasons why. We have so many trauma
Mhm.
responses out here, right? So
Right.
we're not doing that no more. So I'm
What we
gonna tell
doing?
y'all, it's time to speak our mind about everything. That's why I love this podcast. I love being able to have these conversations because I'm not keeping no peace. Well, I'm gonna take that back. I am gonna keep my peace. My peace.
Indeed.
Right,
Peace
right,
of mind, because I'm gonna get that shit off my chest.
Mhm.
Okay.
right.
So how have y'all had that experience? Like, do y'all have that experience to where people be like, "Oh, don't worry, don't say nothing, be the bigger person." She said, "Facts." No,
Yeah.
no, baby, that 5'2" could be 6'5" to somebody
Okay.
on that growth journey. You know
For
what
real.
I'm
I'm telling
saying?
you.
And that's where we need to be at. It's time for us to grow out of those outdated methods. What our mom may have taught us, what our grandparents, what the elders have taught us. I no disrespect to them, but I personally feel like some of those methods are outdated, and that's why we cannot grow as a whole.
Mm,
Right.
good
We
point.
have our own values that we need to be paying attention to. I
Right.
have adopted my own set of values, y'all. And when I tell you being unapologetic about that has allowed me the most peace ever in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Hey, she said, hey, come on.
It was
It's
funny
really,
until she tried me.
I mean, come on. That's what I'm
Man,
saying. Because
yeah,
don't throw that shade. And because what's going to happen is that's what they're going to keep doing.
Right.
What
man.
I have learned and with my clients and everything else is when they try to be the bigger person, these same people keep trying to test their gangster, right?
Right.
Keep trying to
Right.
test them. No, you're not going to test me. I'm going to shut your ass down in the gate.
Right.
But not even trying to be mean or malicious or, drama filled behind it, but it's for my mental well being.
Right.
And that's what people don't realize. We are in the era of protecting our mental wellness. We are
Mhm.
in the era of really, truly breaking cycles and growing to become the more mentally healthy versions of ourselves. So,
Mhm.
doing that is going to involve us having some uncomfortable ass conversations, probably more than you want, but it's got to happen. You know what I'm
Necessary.
saying? It's got to happen.
It's very
So,
necessary.
you gonna speak your piece.
Mhm.
If somebody trying you, hey, let me tell you something. Hey, can I talk to you for a second?
Mhm.
I ain't on no drama. I'm not either. But how you receive it is not on me. But I'm
Right.
gonna get it off my chest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right.
gonna
That's
speak my piece. If you
man.
get mad behind it and ready to hoop and holler, that's on you. But I'm not going to hold that in because now my peace of mind is all messed up. I'm losing sleep. I'm stressing out. I'm
Right.
overthinking about stuff because I don't want to say nothing to you because I want to be the bigger person
No.
and keep the
Man.
no. We're
No.
not doing that no more, y'all.
Man, I'm
No.
about to take off and start running around the church where she preaching. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, when I tell you that's how I feel, it's like, man, it's their issue,
It is.
right? It's their issue. It ain't my issue,
Exactly.
right? Let me say what I gotta say. I read a book. I ain't gonna say what it was, but this was years ago when it talked about keeping stuff, taking the monkey off your back, put it on, and wearing stuff that you don't really need to be wearing. And I had to learn that, like, I can't deal with your bullshit.
Yes. Right.
I shouldn't. I can't. Let me tell you my take on it, and then I'm done with it.
Yep.
Right. And if we come to a amicable solution, or if we meet somewhere in the middle, cool. If we don't, also cool.
Also cool. Exactly. Because I'm not going to continue to try to explain my feelings. I done already said what I needed to say.
Right.
So now I'm done with it. Now
here's the thing that you said that I think that people might have missed, and it's true. It's a fact. It happens. Is that sometimes when you hold that thing in, you endure some type of physical ailment. You know what I mean? Like you can't sleep. You can't concentrate.
Man.
I mean, just because you're holding in something that you need so much to be able to get out of.
Yep.
Good communication is good communication.
Absolutely.
Even when the subject of that communication may be conflict.
That part.
You know what I mean?
It ain't gonna be conflict on my part.
Not on my part either. Not on my part.
I get it that I might be further along in my journey as someone else that I might be trying to have the conversation with. But again, we can't let that suppress us into saying, oh, well, they might not be ready. They might get mad. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me.
Right.
Because I know over the years how much sleep I have lost overthinking. I'm already an overthinker as it is. This Gemini mind be on fire, okay? So I'm already an overthinker. You know what I'm saying? But I can just look back at all the nights I'd have lost sleep. You know what I'm saying? Where I'd have been so distracted that I can't do work. Like so many things, and we don't understand that shit can stroke us out. We cause heart attacks.
Exactly.
As much as you continue it, I'm not no spring chicken no more. I'm still the bomb, but I ain't no spring chicken no more.
I'm with you.
Like, but so therefore, I'm gonna protect my mental well-being at all costs. And if protecting my mental well-being means addressing you because of something that you did to me that might have been trying to be hurtful, me expressing myself to you, I'm not trying to be drama filled. But if that's how you take it, I'm still gonna let it be known. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not going to worry about it.
I believe that's especially true where relationships are concerned, and I don't mean man woman relationships, but anything that is
any
a relationship that's a personal interaction between you and another person. Exactly.
That's like with family. Prime example with family. Like we have our elders, and they like that's just how grandma is. No, grandma gonna get told.
You're right.
It's 2023, and I'm so not trying to be disrespectful, but grandma's gonna get told, or Keisha's just not coming back around. I've been seeing people, saying that they're not going to the family functions no more. Shout out to these people. I'm not saying to walk away from family, and I'm not saying, to still maybe not try to find resolution. But sometimes there's just no resolution to find because you have people that are stuck in that way of thinking and feel like that you can let somebody disrespect you because they might be 75, 80 years old. Then guess what? I ain't mad about them not coming to the cookouts.
Hey, shout out to my man Joshua.
For real.
Shout out to my man Joshua that said mental health has to be a
priority. My boy Lucky, yes sir. He is a big mental health advocate. So yes,
it has to be a priority, especially because what's something that I've always told my kids is especially when they tell me that I might have hurt their feelings. The way you feel is a fact. That's an undeniable truth. The way that you feel is a fact. Now, did I mean to make you feel that way? Maybe not.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the part that we need to discuss. But they need to be allowed to get that out. Also, I need to be allowed to get it out. You know what I'm saying as well. So when we talking about grandmom, and grandmom say some stuff that's out of pocket and our feelings hurt, the way we feel is a fact.
I get
and we need to be able to address those things.
Yeah. And the thing about it is I'm not trying to take away from the old values because I do believe that there are some old values that we still need to carry on, in order for humanity as a whole.
Sure.
But there have to be some hella fine tunes that need to happen for us to become our most mental healthy version of ourselves, because that's the goal. That should be everybody's goal right now. Everybody
Yeah.
has something that they need to be working on when it comes to their mental awareness. Everybody, I don't care who you are. Every single one of us on this platform, we know that there's things that we can look forward to, with regards to making some growth moves for ourselves, for our benefit, for our longevity, for our health, for our physical health, our mental health, emotional, spiritual, wherever. There is growth in anybody and everybody. And that's really the mindset that we need to be on. Growth.
Man, I'm telling
Uncomfortable
you.
growth, but that
Man.
journey necessary. It's super necessary, y'all. So I just want us to really understand that nobody is trying to, and I ain't saying that there ain't people out here that do got some drama behind what they're trying to do. I'm not talking about them, okay? So please don't compare that. I'm speaking on the people that are truly on a mental healthy growing journey and want to really have a conversation with you. Be open to that, because you never know how it can be resolved. It can make a relationship closer, whether it's a domestic relationship, a family relationship. It can make you guys closer because everybody could be really trying to take that journey together. So just be mindful of that. Nobody's always trying to, everybody's not always trying to be negative when they're coming to you about something that you might have done to them that might have, put them in their feelings. Just be mindful of that. Just be super mindful, y'all. That journey necessary. Work on yourself. I actually put a challenge out on my Facebook page that I challenge everybody this week. When we make changes and we want to make changes, it involves switching up some habits. So there's 3 things that I would say this week that I challenge y'all to, and y'all can actually reach out to me directly if you accept the challenge. One thing is to do something this week that you've been holding off with. Like something that you've been procrastinating on for the past 3 weeks. This week, I challenge you to get it done, right? Go to bed at a different time or wake up at a different time. I know my body wakes me up between 5 and 6 every day. So when I wake up, I'll do something different when I wake up. Take a different route to or from work. Do something different. Take a more scenic route. Might be a little longer, but make it different. This last one, and I know it's going to be a hard one for y'all, but I challenge y'all to cut back an hour of your social media time this week. 1 hour. That is not a lot, but I challenge y'all. This is to help you build new habits for yourself. Okay. The journey has to start small. Don't think that you can do these big drastic changes overnight. You've got to create new policies and procedures for yourself. So if you do one or all 4 of them, I'm proud of you. And I'll be back next week to ask the question. So y'all make sure if y'all accept the challenge, let me know in the comments here. And then I'll make sure that I'll hold y'all accountable come next week. So
Nice.
And that's why we got to be coached up with Coach K.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
period.
She's going to get us all the way together.
I'm telling you, I need the coaching.
She going to get us all the way together, man. But so, hey, Coach K, thank you for that. What you said about taking a different route to work. I was like, you know what, maybe I will do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Maybe a little more scenic. You know what I'm saying? That sounds like a good deal, man. But let's move on. We're going to move on. We got a very special guest that's going to join us today. She is an author. She's an international traveler. She's a FAMU graduate, and her name is Noelle Ojo, and she's wrote the book, The Blaxit Effect, The African American's Guide to Relocating to Africa. Good to have her on. How you doing, Noelle?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. Now, look, I did, get to read a little bit of this book. And I know that there are some romanticized ideas that were kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, when I read this book. But first of all, tell us why'd you write the book?
Okay. So I'll give you a little background first, because I think why I wrote it, I think, at first I felt like I had to have standing to write it, right? So I'm a Foreign Service officer. Which means I represent the United States overseas. At one point I worked for the Department of State. That was my first part of my career. I served in Lagos, Nigeria, and Yaoundé, Cameroon with them. And then I've lived a total of 4 years in Nigeria, and then I did 2 years in Cameroon. And then, but I did some time with the government and some time without, which was important too. I wanted to make sure that I had that experience. When I was in law school, my first time overseas into Africa was to Nairobi, Kenya. So that was my first experience. had a good time. That's what really made me say I want to do this for a living, or have that opportunity to do it for a living. And then now I work for USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development. So we do development work.
Okay.
It's funny when you were talking about the BRIC and all the, we were talking about some corruption stuff. I'm actually a democracy and governance officer. So I served in Dakar, Senegal with them. I was there for 4 years. And then most recently I was in Accra, Ghana, doing like peace and security work. So had an opportunity to live and work in 5 African countries over the course of 20 years, in and out, both as a single woman, then also with a family, with a husband and children. And in my years, I got a chance to meet a lot of Black Americans for a variety of reasons. They might have been there teaching, they might have been there as spouses of a local person, they might have just been working like me, not attached to the government, like a big multinational, or they just moved over there and started working and just rebuilt their life over there, right? And so I got to be friends with a lot of them, still friends with many. And I got to know that, there were some people who would go and thrive, acclimate into the culture, add value to, whatever community they came to. And then you had others who would just crash and burn.
Right.
6 months later, they mad, they broke, and now they go on YouTube and do diss videos about whatever country, right? And so a lot of that, you realize a lot of that was those who crashed and burned. I think really it was about preparation. They were not prepared. They didn't have research. They didn't save enough money. They weren't really realistic about what they would find or what it would require. They just were like, well, I'm just about to go, and that's it. And I get it, right? Because after 2020, there's a huge influx. Like that term Blaxit is a play on the word Brexit, right? But it's a phenomenon. You have Black Americans specifically who are itching and really needing to leave the United States. We're over it, we're tired. And there are many places in this world that we can just have a better life, like just real talk, My book happens to just focus on the continent because that's what I know. I've traveled to many other places, but I've only lived on the continent. So I hope that tells you at least enough about why I wrote it.
So one of the things that I can say is that I have traveled to Africa myself, not as extensively as you have, of course. But one of the things that surprised me about Africa is it's not like a whole brother sister thing, when you get there. They're not always welcoming you home like you're a long lost fantasy, like family or whatever. So that fantasy or romanticized version of you coming, landing, and then everybody's at the airport waiting that open arms.
Welcome home.
That's not the deal. Did you ever have an encounter like that?
Well, I think whatever illusions I had about that, if I may ask, where did you go?
So I went to Eritrea and Morocco.
Very interesting places. So yes.
I loved Eritrea. Eritrea was wonderful.
Yes. So yeah, and in Morocco, that's a whole different ball game. A lot of times
I would never go back.
They wouldn't consider themselves African. But I'm sure you ran into. But So yes, one of the things that I talk about is we have, for us in the United States, everything is racialized. We are going to feel camaraderie and kinship because of our color, because of our race, and we will have a similar experience, right? Because of how we look. And our background. That doesn't happen in any other place, right? Like white folks fight white folks in other places. Like it's not a racial. We're not bonded because of the race that we are. And so when we go over, but that's how we are in the States, right? Everything is along racial lines for everybody. And so when we go over there and we're like, yo, we all Black folk, we need to be, and they're just like, no, not necessarily. And then two, you're foreign. You are not one of, now that doesn't mean you can't, and I was saying this, it doesn't mean you can't have an awesome experience. But I never felt more American that despite not, when we're over here, we're not waving American flags usually. I know you brothers like
Bro.
we're in the military and stuff like that. So I know it's like really complicated, right? Like our relationship with the United States is incredibly complex. And so, you know, you're just over there like, I'm a Black person, we trying to vibe. And they're just like, oh, the American girl. Oh, the American. And I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And then, but I will say, by the time, and this was like my first time over there, and I'm in Kenya, right? And then realizing that I'm seen as an American, and then also my tribe is Black American, right? Like I came back with like such a deep respect and appreciation for being a Black American and all that we've been through and what we're still able to achieve and accomplish in spite of, you know, our resilience is just, I don't know if there's another group in history that survived the way we do and thrived the way we do, right? And that came as a result of like these international travels and learning to understand that these are like my cousins, right? Like we so much of, and I tell people, because one question that, and you might eventually come to it, but people always like, well, what was your favorite place? Or, you know, I'll tell you this, and I'm very honest. East Africa, West Africa, Southern Africa, they're all very different, right? Culturally. And my first time was East Africa. And I had a great time. The people were friendly. I lived with a family. Like it was great. I was working, I was interning. And it was nice enough. But when my first time in Nigeria, I got off the plane and I was like, oh, this is us all day. Like it felt like home. It really did. You know, the beauty of it, the shenanigans of it, all of it. Like, that's right. You know what I'm saying? Like you could just relate. And they relate to us. You know, when you were talking, and Rocky J, you have definitely heard Burna Boy. You know that song where they use what's her name? Toni Braxton's song recently, like that beat. I'm like, I forgot the name, but Fat Last I think is the name of the song. But you've heard it. But it's like how that culture merges with our culture. We can look at WizKid and all those got Davido. I was in Costco in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I'm listening to Davido on the loud speaker. You know what I mean? So like we are cousins in that sense. But yeah, it's not going to necessarily be that kumbaya moment immediately because they don't have the history that we have. And a lot of times, you know, they're taught in the same colonial, mostly whitewashed system that we have. They're not doing whole segments on what was the slave trade and all that. You know, the educated one, people will and stuff like that. And then even if they did learn it, it's not necessarily at the forefront of their minds because it doesn't impact their daily life the way our history impacts like every aspect of what we do every day, even today.
Man, that's interesting. I had probably similar experiences as Sincere. I went to Mombasa.
Yes.
Okay. Kenya.
He does talk about these experiences in the book.
And you know, I was definitely not received the way I thought I would be. I thought it was going to be like, hey, you know, even here in the States, right? When we walk down the street and brother passing the opposite way, what's up?
The head nod.
You get the head nod, right?
The smile.
You know, over there, and they're just like, what are you doing? Like, do you know me?
Right.
So it is very, very different. The same way I was stationed in Japan initially, and there's a lot of Africans and people of African descent in Japan, which kind of blew my mind in Tokyo. But the same thing, I thought there was just, you know, you see a brother in Tokyo, it's like, oh, my people, and they're just like, no, it's like, no, not really. Like you are not. Where are you? Hutu? Are you this? Are you that? I'm just like, I have no idea.
I'm from
Florida.
Yeah. And you know what? There's the chapter in the book that kind of addresses, you know, those things right there in the cultural adaptation. But the thing that kind of not, you know, bothered me, but it kind of you know, vexed me a little bit was you don't realize how colonialized your own mind is until you get over there.
Right.
And then you realize, like, man, I am, I'm probably like just as worse as, you know what I'm saying, some European
Right.
people that I may have come in contact with, you know, until you
Yes.
get there, you don't realize how bad it is.
Yeah. Like when you walk past something and you smell it and you just,
Yeah.
you turn your
know what I
nose
mean?
up and
Mhm.
you look a certain way at people and
Right.
you and you're just like, who
Or
am
just-
I to do this?
Or just
Right.
imagine
Doesn't-
somebody preparing a meal for you, and it's
With
their
your
favorite
hands?
meal. This they go to, you know, and you turning your nose up at it. I mean,
Right,
that's,
because-
that's definitely not going to leave a
Look.
good taste in somebody's mouth.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We're not willing to do the communal plates and
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and show that, and I was, there's a part of that in the cultural adaptation, because I think that's what sets the book apart from being just a regular, how do I go overseas? And I'm talking specifically to Black folks and what we might be coming with in terms of expectation, and then what, and also, like you said, we always hear about the ugly American. We can be ugly Black Americans, right? In terms of how we talk to people. I've seen Black Americans act real ridiculous overseas. I mean, we know some that act crazy here with our African brothers and sisters.
Well, talk about that. Let's talk about that. The savior complex that some of us might arrive with.
Right, right. So that whole idea of like, and I talked about this before somewhere else. Like, we go to a place and we can immediately see the problems, right? Oh, the roads are raggedy, or they don't have drainage systems, and what do you mean there's no indoor plumbing everywhere, or things like that, or why can the politicians like steal all this money? Where are the systems in place? And so it's easy to start judging and criticizing and realizing like, well, what? And so you start to think, well, the people either don't know any better, they're too silly or stupid to know how to fix it, but then I think, and I try to make the analogy, like, I think we on this call can all agree America has a violence problem, right? We have a gun violence problem in this country.
Yeah.
You ask the average American, raise your hand, do we have a problem? Yes, we do. Now, can any one of us on this call do a damn thing to fix any of it? Nothing.
No.
And so it's this, like, we all know it's a problem. We know what needs to happen. We're impacted by it. We hate it. We cry. We put the t-shirts on. We get mad, but we really can't impact change. And we wouldn't want to be judged individually as a group to say like, well, all of y'all are just raggedy and stupid and ineffectual,
Sure.
and not care. You don't care about your community or whatever. Just because, there's systems that have to go, you have to do to make those changes. And so sometimes we have to stop as Americans and realize like, they may not be able to change the system or the environment or be able to demand a different scenario. And it's the same way for us. You look at drugs in our society or racism in our society. I mean, we're the level of like racism and discrimination, we are moving backwards in many ways politically. And the rest of the world is watching like, didn't y'all what happened to the 60s and all that? Like, and we're really regressing. But most of us, the average American citizen, and certainly the Black folks, understand like, we feel our hands are tied. We feel, what are all the feelings we feel about this is happening to us, but feeling almost helpless, And so thinking about that as you can't come in with that mentality. And then I'm going to save you if you just only knew how to do this one thing. And y'all, I'm going to in and teach you thing.
And it's funny because that's a cultural thing. There are a lot of cultural ideals or cultural norms there that are much different than they are here. And I mean, when I say much different, I mean, normal things as far as like a daily work rhythm. Like that's not something that's going to happen every day. We looked at investing in Africa especially when Ghana was doing that whole year of return thing.
Right.
But I will do my research and of course I know a couple of people. I made some phone calls and they were like, man, let me tell you, Africans don't go to work every day. We not punching the clock like y'all punching the clock. We not running to get this money or whatever like you guys do. So I mean, if you think you just gonna go over there, start, build something, then leave, and they're gonna continue, that ain't going. That's not the way it's gonna work out. And then even on top of that, when we talking about the culture, people get there and don't want to experience the culture. You want the culture to be the same as it is here,
Right.
which does not make any sense to me, because you know what I mean, we've traveled enough. I do want to go in it, and then I want to try to see if I can immerse myself into that culture. Noelle, did you have any issues with that immersion in any of the places that you went to? I know it wasn't an issue in Nigeria.
Well, no, yeah, love Nigeria. I loved all the places, but no, I think you have to just make a conscious decision to integrate.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy, and especially like when I was working for the government, they set up a lot of things for you to you can really stay bubbled if
Right.
you want.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make, I think, a more conscious effort to get out. But like I said, I lived in Nigeria, private sector, privately for a number of years, and so like I didn't know anybody at the embassy when I was there the second time. And like I worked for a Nigerian firm. I had a Nigerian boss. All my coworkers were Nigerian. Like I lived in a house. I had paid rent. Like I was like there, right? Like just a regular citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think you lose a lot if you don't. Especially like I tell people, like if you're going to visit, eat the food, learn basic greetings in a local language.
Right.
It goes a very long way. Be respectful of whatever the culture is. Like you might have your thoughts about women covering and all that. That's your thought, and this is their culture. Respect it.
Right.
Even I had a lot of coworkers who had colleagues that had multiple wives. I don't have any judgment about that. That's like I really don't. Like that's their thing. They have thoughts about us. And a lot of African countries are very socially conservative. They're not trying to hear about anything LGBT.
Right.
So like if I'm telling them like I have relatives in the community and stuff, like I got to know them and well enough so I could probably have a conversation about it, and they would,
Mm-hmm.
But coming off the rip, coming in hot with that, it's a no-go. And same thing with like the reverse, right? Like there's different things about their cultures that we might just seem so different from ours that we have to but be respectful,
So after being in Japan for like 13 years, there are some things culturally where I'm like, man, I'm glad that this isn't the case in the United States. And there are some things that I'm like, man, I wish this was something that we adopted in the United States. What's one of each thing that you could give us off the top of your head from your travels?
You got these tough questions. Okay. I'll do it.
He be pulling them.
So for example, Senegal is where I spent like more recently, like the most amount of time. I adored my time in Senegal. Senegalese people are awesome. It's a beautiful country, beautiful culture, very communal. It's interesting, like, I work there, right? And if people, even things like everything is discussed. If there's a problem, we couldn't fire people like, oh, this person. We had to talk to the foreign nationals. They would usually try to counsel and talk. Like they're really concerned about how's that person going to move forward. Like it was beautiful, really, really beautiful. Like in terms of that.
Definitely don't care about that on this side of the world.
You out of here. No. They like give me a badge and security will escort you out. And here's the paperwork for the Social Security. You know what I mean? Like unemployment. That's it. So it was just beautiful to see like the level of community and how like rich and deep that was. And I found that in a lot of the places. So like that would be for Senegal. And then at the same time, on the flip side, what I actually worked on when I was in Senegal is forced child begging. So you had some of the Islamic schools would send kids out to beg from like 7 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night. So sometimes if you see images in Senegal, you see like little boys with buckets, and mostly boys. And they would go, they had to bring like $1 or $2 back every day. And if they didn't, they would either, not get dinner or they'd be beat and stuff. So we had in Dakar over 30,000 kids that suffered through that. And so my project was to work on that and work with the communities to alleviate that issue. Yeah. So obviously no one want that. We don't have that in the States, right? Like you can't just have kids in the United States. We have compulsory education. That's a beautiful thing about the States. And I'll say, like, when I came back from Kenya, I just remember feeling as an American, like, damn, we are so spoiled. Right. Because in a place like that, in most places in the world, if you can't afford school, you don't go. Finish, full stop. So if your mother's a house help, your father's a gate man and all that, the chances of you really rising above that and having a better life are just slim, simply because you don't have opportunity.
Yeah.
So you got to understand how the United States gives opportunity, but then you also see how a lot of us chuck it, period. Even with our problems, at the end of the day, school is free, period. Books are free, period. And there are kids who would kill to just go to school, learn how to read, you know, and that's something that we have. And, you know, it's more complex than that. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you get into the conversations about, well, some schools are better than others and some are better resources, et cetera. So all of that equal, notwithstanding, in general, this is one of the few countries in the world where you can be, you know, what we applaud people who come from very humble beginnings and then can make it. We look at Oprah, we look at whoever, right? Like the more humble your beginning, the more impressed we are with your heights, right? And that's very different in a lot of other parts of the world. It's class. You know, I don't care how rich you are, your mother was still a maid. And,
right.
You know, like that's real. You know, it's
right.
That's real. That class thing is very real in a way that it's not necessarily here, only like the really upper echelons of our society.
That's all right. Well, Miss Noelle, I certainly appreciate you coming on and giving us this good old information about, you know, your experiences in Africa. Again, this is Noelle Ojo. Her book is The Blaxit Effect. You guys make sure. Where can we get this book?
Look, I got a question. But just before we sign off, I just want to know, if I move to Africa, am I going to feel like white folks in America?
No, I think well, one, you got to really think about where you want to go. That's chapter one. Like, pick a place and be real strategic about where you want to go. But I think we have a chance I think we get to have a really unique and awesome experience as Black Americans. Going to a place where you look like the people, gives you an insight and the ability to merge and understand in a way that our white brothers and sisters and colleagues and counterparts wouldn't have. And I think we should lean into that, but you have to have a mutual respect to have that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Indeed.
And I say that jokingly, but I do, you know, I joke with my neighbor who is Nigerian, and spends a lot of time back and forth. I tease him all the time. I was like, I don't know what you're taking back and forth to Nigeria, but you know, I think you got something going on over there. But he actually does own an export-import business.
Right.
But I've asked him a few times about going, and he's like, "Yeah, definitely, you should come." So
you should,
I'm
have to take you with you, because it's like Nigeria, especially Lagos. It's an awesome city. It's New York times 10. Anything you want to do, get into, have fun. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. But it's best done with someone who knows. I wouldn't show up and go to the Marriott and be like, okay, I'm bustling around Lagos. Yeah. I might do that in Kenya. I might do that in Accra. I wouldn't necessarily do that in Lagos. You're going to have a better time going to someone who knows the lay of the land.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's I've already said that's what I want to do for my 50th birthday, which is not too far from now.
Yeah, you want to go to Nigeria in particular, or?
Yeah, in particular, that's exactly where I want to go.
Yeah, Lagos is fun. Now, South Africa, I will say real quick, the first time I spent a lot of time in Southern Africa, and I avoided it for those very reasons we talked about, because I'm like, the history of apartheid. I'm like,
yeah.
But I went recently, about a year ago, and I had a really good time. I went to, I was in Johannesburg, and then also Cape Town, which is one of the most stunningly beautiful places you will ever see.
I've heard wonderful things about Cape Town, especially recently. I've heard great things about that place.
I tell people, I was like, them white folks got to South Africa and was like, I ain't leaving, and I'll turn everybody off. I get out of here. I'm serious. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's good. Yeah. I definitely want to go. You know, again, you know, with the knowledge that I have now, with the appreciation that I have now, and you know, get a redo, because Morocco was the last place that I went, so that was not. I don't want to leave off like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and it is beautiful that we have this resurgence of like interest and respect and excitement about the continent, because you know we all grew up in the 80s. It was not a good thing to be from Africa. to be
Facts.
affiliated
Right.
with it,
Facts.
right?
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And
The
so
booty scratcher.
Right.
I grew up in Brooklyn, and it was
All
not.
of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not a positive thing. And then you're hearing and you're seeing all the images of the Ethiopians starving, and
Right.
so there was not a lot of positive imagery coming out of that.
Right.
And so now you just see much more. We get to see Africa in all its complexity and layers, and it's a lot of beauty there. And a lot
And
of
I'm glad that
culture.
we grew and got past that ignorance that we
Me
had as
too.
children.
Exactly.
Also, a lot of that was propaganda as well. So
Absolutely.
we had
Sure.
to deal with that.
Absolutely.
But again, Noelle, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on the show. It was great talking to you, especially about this book, especially about this subject. So let people know where they can contact you or where they can get your book from.
Okay. So I have it in my little signature down here. So it's FAMU Nojo. I had to represent FAMU.
I ain't mad at you.
So yeah. And then you can also go, so the link is probably somewhere tied in there. And then also you can go straight to, I sell it directly from my website. I have a coupon code there. And so it's www.theblaxiteffect.com.
www.theblaxiteffect.com.
Yes, so it's like the title of the book. I try to make it real simple.
Easy
and
day.
If I have it as I'm working on the audiobook. That'll be coming very soon. But right now it's an ebook, so you can read it on your Kindle, or you can have it as a hard copy.
Good. I have I was fortunate enough to get a copy. Very good read.
Oh, good.
Very good read. It's informational. It's not boring, so that's always good.
I'm
Definitely, if you want to try it out and you want to know about her experiences and maybe things that you should think about before making your travels to Africa, definitely try out this book, The Blaxit Effect. And remember, you can hit her at famunojo.com. At famunojo, and you can get the book at www.theblaxiteffect.com. Noelle, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much. This is a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
All right. Coach, you was quiet. You was taking it all in, what?
I was taking it all in. Hey, y'all goals for me. I ain't been to Africa. Y'all goals for me. I'm trying to get there.
Hey, we need to take the Black Podcast to Africa.
Man, with international. You know what I'm talking about?
Down.
That's what we need to do.
Hey, my passport needs some permanent stamps. Come on.
All right, I got one thing before we leave. This is my sincere thought of the week. Y'all know we have these every week. And my subject matter this week has to do with I know we've heard about Keke Palmer and her baby daddy and that whole incident, and certainly I did have just a little bit to say about that. Two things. One, we all know that 90% of communication is nonverbal. So if you looked at that clip and you couldn't not hear what was going on, and you only looked at what was happening, you would know that if the woman was a lady that is in a committed relationship, she may have been a little bit out of pocket, or a lot of bit out of pocket. That's not even addressing what her outfit was, right? So the two things we gotta that I believe, her behavior or her attire into question. That's the first thing, right? A man should never make a private issue public. That's the second thing, and that has to do with him. And I can understand him being a lot upset about what he was saying, but still, as a man, you deal with your personal issues personally and not over the internet, right? Your relationship's supposed to look perfect to the outside world. But what the overarching issue is that society influences and encourages disorder and confusion, while name calling masculinity as toxic and slick talking women into believing that femininity is a weakness and any display of it makes you vulnerable, which is also a lie. Meanwhile, a man who is austere in his presentation and immovable in his principles, morals, and his submission to the Most High God is one who is said to be operating in patriarchy. Yet another buzzword that we like to use. Black women, don't let the enemy continue to put you in this trick bag of the Black independent woman, because that's a trap. 1 out of 4 of you will never be married, will only get married. 3 out of 4 of you will have kids and not get married. right, and be a single mother. Sidebar: single mother doesn't automatically equate to a father who doesn't want to raise his child. It mostly equates to a man who doesn't want to deal with you. Black man, lose those effeminate ways. Uphold the responsibility that has been yours since the beginning of time, which is to lead and direct your family and by default your community. You do not have the luxury of living and leading with your emotions. We are not an emotional people. We are more cerebral in the way that we handle things. And when I'm talking about men. So when we look at the here of Keke Palmer and her baby daddy, we got to understand that the behavior is what the problem was, not her attire. That's my sincere thought of the week. That's going to cause us to go to a close. Rock, I appreciate you.
What up?
Coming
What
on
up?
again.
Always, man. All love, all the time.
And of course, Coach, we will definitely see and hear from you next week.
Period. You know it. You know it. I'll be here.
Okay. Until then, this is your main man with the game plan. Signing off.
Peace, everybody.